103.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single morning celebrates the amazing people of coastal Mississippi. They are working so hard to make this a better place to live, work, and play. And before we go to our first guest today, I want to ask Kyle to join me for just a second and just touch base with him. We haven't really touched base since the Saints played. We got a big game coming up at the Superdome coming up this weekend. You're pretty excited about it, buddy?
Yeah, about as much as I can be excited about seeing Tom Brady come into our house.
Hey, but you know what? The Saints match up pretty well against Tampa. But, you know, I tell you, man, I'm not a Jameis Winston guy yet. He just feels hesitant to me, very hesitant. Thank God we've got some other parts of our team that are working. And as Jeff Duncan has told us just about every single Friday, we've got a strong defense, and it's really paying off right now.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Jameis either. What I saw on Monday night pretty much verifies what I'm thinking, that he can make some bonehead moves and just doesn't see the whole field.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there were some times that his receivers totally let him down. 3 or 4 instances where they could have kept the ball driving down the field and they just simply dropped the ball. But again, as an overall picture, I'm not completely sold on Jameis just yet.
Neither am I. To be interesting to see what Jeff Duncan from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune has to say about that on Friday. Hey, Kyle, I want to read something to you. This is a pretty interesting statement. And it's one that I live by. And here's what it says. It's so nice when toxic people stop talking to you. It's like the trash took itself out. You know, we don't spend enough. I've said it the other day when I talked to Dr. Conger, but we don't spend enough time thinking about the people who are around us, who the positive people are and who the negative people are. The positive people, do they help us see that there is a light and we should be working toward that and there's hope and opportunity and whatever. But, you know, toxic people can really turn you in the wrong direction, can't they?
They really can. The bad part about it is, for the longest time, you most likely don't know that they're really toxic for you. The only way you really understand how toxic some people are is to get away from them for a while and then return to, whether it was you left for work, you left for school, whatever, and then you all of a sudden come back and you're back in that mix of people and realize that, hey, you've changed since the last time you've hung out with these people. And, you know, that sometimes doesn't always happen when you're constantly around the same group of people every day.
Well, you know what? That's a good point, Kyle. Sometimes it's like the frog boiling in water. You're there. Water's kind of slowly coming to a boil. You don't realize that you're about to get cooked, but the people around you get used to them and they just become part of your life. And it's not until you get away and go back that you realize, wow, that was not a good environment for me to be in. But, you know, if people will pay more attention to making sure that the people they surround themselves with are hopeful and thoughtful and positive, it could literally change their lives.
Yeah, it really can. And, you know, I think just what it boils down to, that's what they call growing up, I guess.
Isn't that true, man? Isn't that true? Well, anyway, thanks for all you do for the show, buddy. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Not a problem.
Okay, now let's move over to my friend Caleb Ulku, who has Ulku Logistics on coastal Mississippi. It was recently actually awarded a One Coast Award, and I was there to see it. And when I heard them read about him, I thought to myself, this is someone I really want to get to know, a bright young star here in coastal Mississippi. And when I read his bio, he's literally been all over the United States and has a tremendous education. He's doing some really important work here. What brought him here is he married a coast native. And in 2015, he brought his whole family here. But we'll get into all of that here just shortly. But before I go any further, let me just say good morning to you, Caleb. How are you doing, buddy?
Good morning. Doing really well. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, look, I'm not kidding. I was sitting on the front row. You know, our table was front and center when you were awarded a One Coast Award, and I'm really proud of the work that we're doing to continue to point out not only the community leaders, but the young, top 40, or excuse me, top 10 under 40 who are just really making their mark. Something that we started when I was at the Sun Herald, and I'm really excited that we're continuing to do that. But if I had to sort of, say, okay, what would one of those people look like? I would have described you, Caleb. Your journey. And the fact that you had this incredible perspective after spending time in Texas and New York and Chicago and coming back here to the coast and starting your business and doing the work that you're doing, you bring a great perspective. And we connect tremendously when it comes to digital media and the work that you're doing today. But why don't you do this? We're going to describe your company, but then I want to take a step back for a second and talk about where you grew up and how did you decide to go to college in New York City, and the work that you've done since then. But tell me about your company.
Sure. So I started it when we moved down here to the coast, and I worked with a local company to come up with a name, because that's every entrepreneur's biggest first challenge is, man, what am I going to name my company? And one of my rules was I don't want to use my own name, because it's kind of a strange name, 4 letters, 2 U's, and they convinced me, like, no, you got to use your own name. So anyway, we started Ulku Logistics, and my first plan, I worked for a major oil company for 10 years, and very systems, very process driven and oriented. So my first plan was, hey, I'm going to work with other small businesses and help them learn how to run their business better. And that plan didn't work out very well. I didn't really find any clients, nothing really worked out there. And I gradually learned how to do online marketing with the goal, of course, of marketing my own business. And I would go to chamber events and things like that. And when I spoke with other business owners, they would say things like, oh, do you know how to do Google Ads? Do you know how to do Facebook? Do you know how to do, search engine optimization? So eventually I was just like, wow, well, I should offer this as a service to other businesses. It's much more interesting. It's what they're asking for help with. So I pivoted and started offering that as a service. And that's basically what we do now. We're an online marketing company. We specialize in something called search engine optimization, which basically helps websites rank higher on Google search.
Well, it's fascinating to see what you've done with your path. I have a son who works for Price Waterhouse in New York, and he's on what is called the Treasury team. And what they do is re-engineering and reorg efforts for the financial systems of major corporations. They may do some merger and acquisition work and bringing companies together. He's actually working on some international businesses now. It should take him to Switzerland and places like that. But wow. He started his career in Houston, working in the petroleum engineering sector for Price Waterhouse, and quickly kind of moved up to New York to be on the team up there. But it's kind of interesting that y'all sort of are in the same worlds together at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I went to college. My undergrad degree is in chemical engineering, which is basically a degree that was invented for the oil industry. So then I went to work for the oil industry, and quickly realized that I was much more interested in the business side of that space. So I was an economist. I worked in the strategic planning group there, which is a lot more rewarding than the parts of it focused on finding and refining oil.
What's interesting though, and this will help people who want to sort of understand your path and the way you think. Let me say it like this. Early in my career, I had this opportunity to join a major reorganization effort for Knight Ridder, the company that owned the Sun Herald at the time, and was able to work with literally the leading consulting companies in the world on what was essentially a re-engineering effort for Knight Ridder. There was 12 members on this core team, 26,000 employees in the company, lots of subsidiary companies, but I was one of the 12 members on this team. And I didn't know, I felt really sort of like country come to town there for a while, because I didn't know if I was going to be able to hang with these Harvard graduates and others that I was sitting with around the table. But I quickly realized that I could, that my education was pretty good. And And what I was going to learn with them is a lot about how to be a change agent, the importance of process and how to process re-engineer, and how that adds together into cost structures that help businesses either be successful financially or unsuccessful financially. And I was actually in that world for quite a while. I went on to co-lead the strategic planning efforts for Knight Ridder later in my career. But all of those things sort of helped me become kind of a change agent. And in the day and time that we're in, whether you're in the media business or just in any business, the way that technology has transformed business in so many different ways. We literally started one of the first Oracle systems when we centralized our financial reporting systems and so on. But what you learned early in your career really laid a basis for being able to start your own business and understand how to help clients do their own sort of process engineering around the specific skill set you bring to the table. It's very helpful for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now we have a team of people who help us with fulfillment, with execution. Go ahead.
Hey, let's do this. I didn't realize this. We're coming to the end of this segment. We're going to pick your thought up right there when we come back on the other side of this. But we're having a conversation with Caleb Ulku from Ulku Technologies and Logistics, and we'll see you after this break.
It's 2021 and J. Allen Toyota still has a lifetime warranty on all new Toyotas. They all come with Toyota Care. We've got a great rental department. We've got great used cars. We've got a parts and service department ready to help you. So when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. We're having a conversation with Caleb Ulku, who owns Ulku Logistics. And when we went to break, we had to, I didn't want him to get too far into his thoughts about addressing how his time in the petroleum industry sort of set the stage for him to have his own business, and what he learned about process reengineering, et cetera, and how that really transformed him as a leader, as an entrepreneur. And so kind of pick it up from there, Caleb.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the focus areas, of course, is building out systems and processes for ourselves, for my own business. And it's an area that a lot of entrepreneurs don't have a lot of experience with. I got experience with that because I started my career at, a very large oil major, which was quite helpful. And we've been able to take that process and systems-driven approach to really grow to the business to a point where my business partner and I, we ended up on a crossroads where we could either bring on board additional staff to help manage clients, or we could sort of pivot in a different direction. And we didn't want a layer of people in between us and the clients. We wanted to maintain that direct client contact. So we actually pivoted toward building a coaching company to help other people learn how to do online marketing, search engine optimization, following the same process and systems-driven mindset that we used when we initially built our organization.
Yeah, wow, that's so interesting. Your education is pretty significantly deep. It looks like every time you found yourself in a new location, you found a way to benefit from whatever educational opportunities there are. And I noted that you'd gone to the University of Chicago. And Roland Weeks, who was a prior publisher and president of the Sun Herald before I became president, he believed in management development. And man, look, he sent me all over the country for years. And University of Chicago twice doing continuing education stuff in the management side of things. But that was a terrific opportunity for you to go to University of Chicago, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. In a lot of ways, my wife and I, we were engaged at the time, and she's a physician, so she was trying to figure out where she could match, where she would end up going to do her residency, based on which cities in the United States the company that I worked for had offices. So she ended up matching at Cook County Hospital in downtown Chicago. So I asked, my supervisor, hey, my fiance is moving to Chicago. Can I go too? So they ended up moving me to that facility in Chicago. And, if you know anything about, first year residencies as a physician, I never saw her basically. And, I decided that I would do an MBA at the University of Chicago while she was at work all the time. So that was our life for a few years there in Chicago.
For people who haven't heard, your initial college was the Cooper Union. And for people who haven't heard, I've actually heard of it, by the way. So it's a small but really prestigious college in New York City, and it's highly ranked. But tell me about the Cooper Union.
Sure. So it's interesting. It was founded by Peter Cooper, who was a big-time industrialist, and he believed that education should be as free as water and air. So the Cooper Union was founded with the philosophy that every admitted student should have a full tuition scholarship. Which makes it very difficult to get into because there are a lot of students who apply. And it's a well-known regional school in New York City. And I, of course, grew up in North Dakota. And the Cooper Union, they only offer art, architecture, and engineering. And there's maybe, I can't remember exactly how many, there's fewer than 1,000 students there. It's a small school.
Okay, so look. You spent time in Washington, Texas, Chicago, New York City. You came back to coastal Mississippi because you wanted to change the pace of life, et cetera. Okay, first of all, what is appealing to you about coastal Mississippi? I want you to answer that first, but then what I want you to tell me more about is what you believe based on your life's experiences so far. What's the key to success? But let's talk first about what's your view of coastal Mississippi and how it fits into the larger universe?
Yeah, I mean, we've really enjoyed being down on coastal Mississippi. I mean, it's a great place to raise our family. My son, well, both of my kids, my daughter just started, she's 6. They do sailing lessons, and it's just, I mean, it's wonderful, right? I grew up in North Dakota. We didn't have a lot of sailing lessons there. And meeting the people down here, getting involved with the community. My wife is actually the vice president of the Junior Auxiliary of Gulfport, and we've done a variety of things down here. So it's been a really great place to come down and raise a family. We started in Houston. That's where our son was born. He was born in Houston, and that was just a difficult, stressful time in life. To raise a child in Houston, and in Washington D.C., which is where we later moved with him, and it's just been really, it's been great for us, for our family, to be down on the coastal Mississippi.
Okay, so as you look back on your sort of sum total of experiences, what's your sort of advice to other young people who want to pursue their dreams? A lot of people get locked into a world they don't really want to be in. And I talk about surrounding yourself with positive people and being able to see the light and being committed that there's a light there, and then working your butt off, not in an 8-to-5 scenario, but in a dogged determination kind of way. That's where you are in your life today. What is it that you would say to a peer who's thinking about maybe pursuing a great idea?
Yeah, and I've had this conversation with few people, and generally what I try to impress is to fail as fast as possible, because what we don't want to have happen is it's a great idea, maybe it's a great idea, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, and we don't want to spend years and years and years trying to figure out whether it's going to work or not. If it's going to work, clearly we want it to, and if it's not going to work, we want to find that out as fast as possible. So sort of the first focus is, okay, what are all the ways in which this idea could not work? And let me go explore as fast as I can, so that if it is not a great idea, if it's not the great idea that I think it is, then I can switch gears into something that might actually be a good idea. Most first ideas aren't going to be, a huge success. And it's funny, people say like, oh, an overnight success. Well, most of those overnight successes were years and years in the making, many fast failures before the overnight success actually happened.
So fail fast. And the other point is you learn so much from failure, don't you?
Absolutely. We started running ads on a variety of different companies. And it's one thing when we're running ads for our clients and we can say, oh, the performance isn't great. We have to do some changes, et cetera, et cetera. And then when we start running ads for ourselves, when it's our money, right? When we're writing checks with our money to run ads, you learn a lot faster when it's your own, your own assets, your own resources. Yeah.
Yeah, Caleb, you're so articulate. I enjoy meeting with you. One day we probably ought to circle back and talk more about what it means to be successful in life. But what would you say to someone who has an idea, who's scared to death to pursue a goal of going after that idea? They're stuck in maybe a rut or an 8-to-5 job, and they just are scared to death. You made that leap. What's your advice to someone else to make that leap?
Yeah, and it's interesting. So, one of the things that's so common among people is this, we call it the imposter syndrome, right? Super, super common, where people feel like they don't belong where they are. They haven't earned where they are. And if they went and tried, they wouldn't succeed because all these other people are smarter than them, are better than them, are more experienced than them, whatever it happens to be. And the crazy thing about imposter syndrome is if you're feeling that way, it's actually a really, really good thing, because the only people who feel like they're an imposter, who get that feeling, are people with like a growth-oriented mindset, who are trying to do something that they're not used to, that they haven't done before. And so that feeling of what you're describing, of being a little bit scared, I mean, that's how you should feel, frankly. And, if you're not ready to make the leap and, leave your job and try it, then find a different way to carve out time and see if it'll work. But it's not just dipping your toes in, because remember, we want to fail fast. We want to find out as fast as possible if it's actually a good idea or not. So jump all in and see if it'll work or not. And if it won't, hey, no problem. Find another idea.
Yeah, I love the way you talk about that syndrome, because I have to tell you that there have been numerous times in my career where I kept putting myself in a position where I'd be uncomfortable, where I had to stretch, where people around me were teaching me and making me feel inferior in the moment. And I had to work harder to try to keep up. And then 2 years later, I was taking another step and then taking another step. And I felt like that the stress of constantly taking that step and taking that risk was really important, and it all paid off in the long run. It certainly paid off for you. But Caleb, we're at the end of our time together, but we're going to come back together again, and we're just going to talk about lots of stuff besides just your business and your early career. You have a lot to teach. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Absolutely. A real pleasure, Ricky. Thank you for having me.
This has been Caleb Ulku from Ulku Logistics, and we'll be back in just a second.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to supertalkmsgulfcoast.com.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Get the scoop on what happened in college football and what to expect in the NFL. Each Sunday on Sports Sunday with Michael Borky. Get the story behind the stats, 8 to 10 a.m. on SuperTalk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and watch the show on supertalk.tv. SuperTalk Mississippi. We're more than just words. This is where the story of your state is told. Proud to cover the Magnolia State like nobody else. SuperTalk Mississippi.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard to find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer / I worked in a furniture factory. slash I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, slash I was in the National Guard, and
Wow.
all this stuff was going on at the same time, slash I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show
on Super Talk Mississippi.
Super Talk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on Super Talk Mississippi.
Halloween on the Green at Big Play is this Saturday. Come hungry for some of the best food trucks around. A $1,000 costume contest, the Sam Adams Beer Garden, great live music all day. It's Halloween on the Green at Big Play on the new green space under the Oaks, Highway 90 Biloxi this Saturday. Gates open at 11 a.m. Admission is free.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on Super Talk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. I really enjoyed that conversation with Caleb Ulku from Ulku Logistics. There's so many smart people. In this case, he married someone from coastal Mississippi, went all over the place, and ultimately landed back here to open his own business. So many inspiring young people, whether they're from here or got transported here by way of marriage or whatever. They have something to offer, and his story of entrepreneurship and his work in corporate America that ultimately sort of helped him lay the groundwork for starting his own business here in coastal Mississippi is really inspiring. So if you missed that conversation, go to the Super Talk Facebook page or YouTube page of your favorite podcast and listen, and you'll be glad you did. What a bright young person he is. So now let's move over to our friend Cecilia Dobbs Walton, who is the public affairs specialist for the City of Biloxi, and just say, first of all, good morning, Cecilia.
Morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's good to have you. You've been on before to talk about your personal story, but this is your first time on Coast View as an official representative of the City of Biloxi. So welcome to the show in that capacity.
Well, thank you. I love the City of Biloxi. I love working for the City of Biloxi. My manager, Vincent Krill, he asked me, are you having fun? And honestly, I really do enjoy my job. I am having fun every day in Biloxi.
Well, we enjoy having Vincent on. Vincent's been on Coast View many times. And as you know, the mayor and I have a terrific relationship, and he's been on the show many times. And I've enjoyed telling his story. His story, he comes up a lot. And he comes up a lot because he's always working so hard on behalf of the city. And, he loves the city. It's in his heart and soul. It's in his DNA. And he's burning the midnight oil every single day to do what's right for the city. He's probably hard to keep up with for you, is he?
He is a little bit. He's always going somewhere. I don't know how many times either he will call or either his secretary will call and be like, hey, the mayor's going over here. And I'm like chasing him down to go take a picture and to be involved with something that he's doing. But he does, like you said, he really does enjoy the city. And it is a joy to be around because he just exudes that, that excitement, and it makes you want to be excited about Biloxi. Yeah,
again, it becomes natural because he's just naturally motivated to want to give back. And, there are several mayors that fit this description. I've talked about this before, but we're lucky. If you look across coastal Mississippi, so many of those mayors have done some, become successful in their own businesses, their own corporate lives, or whatever it is they did. And they didn't necessarily need to be mayor for the financial part of it. You know, they'd already found success, but they wanted to give back. They loved their cities and they wanted to give back. And that certainly describes Fofo Gillett, who had a very successful, software engineering company and wrote code and was successful with, cities all across the United States. It's a great story. And I love the fact, and as I've pointed out so many times before, he has a degree in mathematics. He solves problems for the city often by writing code in his head. I mean, he's a really smart guy. And I help people sort of see that, and it's just exciting to see someone who was born and raised and loves the city the way he does to be the mayor of the city. So you want to support someone like that, don't you?
You do, and it's fun working with you. You say the mathematics, being a communicative person, math is not so much in my forte. And I'll joke with him sometimes, he'll like, hey, I need you to do this spreadsheet. I need you to pull up these numbers. And I'll be like, Mayor, math's not my thing. Oh, no, numbers are your friend. Numbers are your friend. You got this. So he does love numbers. And you're right. He is always, you can always see his mind's just a going. And like I said before, that makes it fun to work for him, because he has so many ideas. He has so many things going on. Being in public affairs, I kind of joke that we're more of a mass communicative entity of the city instead of just public affairs, because Mayor Gillett has so many things going on, and he allows, Vincent and I in public affairs to do so many things. Like we have our own little Studio B, is what he named it, so we can do a little Biloxi television show. We have the newsletter, there's just so many things going on, social media. And then of course, having all those avenues, we're able to get out so much more information about what's going on with the city. And again, that just goes back to Mayor Gillett about how he is so open and wanting to grow and want to spread the word of Biloxi.
Well, you're lucky. And coming back to Vincent for a second, Vincent's long history at the Sun Herald. He was the marquee editor for so many years, and then had worked for A.J. Holloway over all those years. He's an absolute genius wordsmith. I mean, his ability to wordsmith is really second to none. He's awfully good at that. He knows every nook and cranny of the city. Vincent knows, he has literally got a database for a mind in terms of historical perspective, doesn't he?
You're right, and that's good that you say that database. He does, because I'm learning every day from him, and I enjoy learning from him. But you're right, there's some things that, like in his writing, I'm like, how did you know that, Vincent? And it's because he has that history with Biloxi and that connection, so he knows that information, and he knows the way to tell the story in a certain way that shows the history, but also ties it into the present.
Yeah, he really does. Hey, so last time I actually saw you, we were at Cruising the Coast, actually, and you were there with the mayor. The mayor was on Coast Vue. We had Coast Vue live from Town Green during Cruising the Coast, and then after that, we joined the folks at SuperTalk, and continued the conversation there to the statewide audience. But boy, Cruising the Coast, you look back on it, I mean, there were, unfortunately, a few challenging moments along the way, like the shooting, which we won't go into too much detail about. But the fact is, mostly it was just an incredibly successful event. Weather was terrific. But boy, is that a special time of year for the coastal Mississippi, for Biloxi. Cruising really brings it, doesn't it?
It is, in Biloxi, we do have a lot of, or just along the coast, there's a lot of, events that encumber pretty much the entire city, and of course Highway 90. And Cruising the Coast is one of the ones that I've heard over and over, especially from the police department, how enjoyable of an event it is. How the people that participate in the event, how they're just good, happy people. They want to come to the coast. They want to enjoy the coast. I mean, riding down Highway 90 in an antique. I mean, what better can a person that loves antique cars, what better of an atmosphere can they get? And this year was the largest that Cruising the Coast ever had. Our Biloxi block party was, I mean, it was just so great to have it back somewhat normal, you know, and to have all the activities going on outside of City Hall, walking around, seeing the cruisers, just talking to them, taking pictures. You know, they're just happy people. And Mayor Gillage loves that atmosphere. He has an antique car himself, as well as I do. So it is just a fun event to partake in and to have on the coast. And even though we have a traffic plan the police department does every year, it's just something for safety. But, you know, I have to say, we never hear any complaints from the cruisers about our traffic plan.
Yeah, I know. You know, what kind of car do you have, incidentally?
I have a 65 Mustang coupe.
Wow. Fun. That's so much fun. You know, you never know. There's always another dimension to people when you discover about them. Hey, when we come back, we're going to get into some of the items that are on your agenda these days. But what I've said in my conversations with the mayor before, and of course, Vincent and I talked about this. You and I have alluded to this to some extent, but I've been complimentary of you guys because, you know, as a former publisher, I've had the opportunity to meet with public affairs people from cities and counties and states across multiple states. And what I find in you guys is really a best practice. But the reason I point that out is this, that you're communicating with people the way they need to be communicated with. And people need to be communicated with in different kinds of ways. Some people that see the video, it's helpful for them to get those updates, and that's the way they process the information from the city. Some people, they want to go to the website, and that's how they're going to get their information about what's happening with city. Some people look forward to getting the newsletter in the mail. And that's the way they get that information. But what I like about what you're doing, and of course, social media and the city's Facebook page is a way to do that as well. The reality is people get information in different ways. And so if you really want to make sure that you're touching as many residents in Biloxi as possible, you have to be multimedia. You have to use all the normal, you know, new technology, and you have to also be printed in ways that those who want to see it in that way. You guys really work to make sure that you're hitting on all cylinders as it relates to the delivery mechanisms, don't you?
We do, and like I said before, we really do enjoy our job. We're lucky. We're a good team working together and putting out the information. And I mean, you hit it right on the head by saying, you know, reaching the different audiences, and we do in the news, our little television station, you know, even this type of interview, you know, we enjoy getting the information out about the city of Biloxi, and we try to make it, I mean, I know for me, whenever I read information, I know that I like to get it as simple and to where I can just process it and go, everybody has a busy life, so reaching different avenues and getting out there in a certain way really works.
Well, when I say that to Fofo, he goes, shh, don't say it out loud. You're going to give him the big head. Oh, Lord, he always says that. But certainly, I'm sure he deeply appreciates the work that you guys do. Hey, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Lighthouse Parking construction project and you know, the fact that you guys have lots of jobs opening. We need to talk about that. You just finished your debris pickup. We're going to talk about all those. But in the final segment of today's show, we'll see some of the highlights of Biloxi. We'll see after this break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Halloween on the Green at Big Play is this Saturday. Come hungry for some of the best food trucks around. $1,000 costume contest. The Sam Adams Beer Garden. Great live music all day. It's Halloween on the Green at Big Play on the new green space under the Oaks, Highway 90 Biloxi this Saturday. Gates open at 11 a.m. Admission is free.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back. Now at 106.3. Playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out. The new Bob 106.3.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
SuperTalk Mississippi. Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Del Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera flips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play.
Halloween on the Green at Big Play is this Saturday. Come hungry for some of the best food trucks around. $1,000 costume contest. The Sam Adams Beer Garden. Great live music all day. It's Halloween on the Green at Big Play on the new green space under the Oaks, Highway 90 Biloxi this Saturday. Gates open at 11 a.m. Admission is free.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back. Now at 106.3. Playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever. Check us out. The new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. I have Cecilia Walton, who's a public affairs specialist for the City of Biloxi. She works with Vincent Creel and very closely with Mayor Fofo Gillish, but they do a great job of communicating. And, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic, there was this big hoopla planned around Fred Hayes and all of this, and it didn't all go off the way it needed to go off, but there's still a huge dedication ceremony coming next February. And there's an expansion of the parking lot associated with the lighthouse that's going to be underway there. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, we can go ahead and talk about the Fred Hayes event. Yeah, right before the pandemic, we were, and there was Vincent coming in the door. The City of Biloxi had planned a big event with Mississippi Power to do a dedication for Fred Hayes. You know, he is one, if not the most famous Biloxian. You know, I mean, he's an astronaut. He went to around the moon in Apollo 13. And to commemorate him, Mayor Gillish wants to create a statue and a space to honor him. And that's going to be at the Lighthouse Pier parking lot. So all of that was going to happen, you know, where I had a dinner, you know, but a lot of things came up. The pandemic came up. The artist that was putting together the sculpture, I mean, she's building this 8-foot sculpture. She had some health issues. So with all of that delayed, everything is back in to have the event going on, but now it's going to be on February the 13th, which is the anniversary of the birth in Biloxi. And we also had the D'Iberville statue dedicated on February the 13th. So why not dedicate something in the same area on February the 13th at 1300, in the day is when we're going to do it. The statue should be here within a week or two, and I'm going to have everything put together. Going to have a celebration for Fred Hayes. He's going to be here. He is so excited. Oh my goodness. He's I don't remember his exact age, but he's in his 80s. But oh my goodness, he drives from Texas. You talk to him, I mean, he is like smart as can be. It is just a joy to talk to Fred Hayes. So it's a big, exciting event. But with that, Mayor Village wants to update the parking lot. So he's expanding it from 80-something parking spaces to over 100 parking spaces. So it'll be a lot more room. Of course, we're going to have the statue there. We're going to have a lot more things. Vincent and I are kind of still talking on what other activities, what other things we can have in that area.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having Fred Hayes on the show soon. We've been in touch with him, and it's just a matter now of pinning down a date. So the city is in. I mean, we need employees in the city. Talk to me about all the open positions.
You're right. And the City of Biloxi, and I'm glad you chose to talk about this, because that is something big that the City of Biloxi, I mean, there's a lot of people, especially right now after the pandemic. I mean, I'll drive around the city and I'll see a lot of businesses that are looking for people to hire. But the City of Biloxi is a good place to work. We have great benefits. We have state retirement. And, I used to work in human resources years ago, and I would tell people that, do you want to work at a company doing the same thing for 30 years? You can work in the City of Biloxi and you can do different jobs. You can be a lifeguard. You can be a maintenance worker. You can be a public affairs specialist. You could be an administrative assistant. You could be a dispatcher. But the jobs that we do have open is not public affairs specialist. I'm still here. But all those other ones, we have a full-time and part-time lifeguard. For lifeguard, you can start at age 16. That's the only job in the city that you can start. And you work at a large Olympic-sized pool, and then you could do that as a career. Actually, my husband retired as a lifeguard, but in addition to that, water safety instructor, there's other things, teaching swim lessons, firefighters, police officers the city's looking for, laborer, maintenance worker, engineer, dispatcher. So there's a lot of variety of jobs that the city has open, but they're all very vital to the City of Biloxi. Good pay, good benefits, and again, like I said, they're very important positions to the City of Biloxi. So if anybody's interested, they can just go to our website at biloxi.ms.us, click on Human Resources. You can look up a brief description on any of the jobs. It lists the pay, and you can fill out the application right there and send it in.
Your husband actually, as you pointed out, lifeguard, retired. He does swim instructions for children, and he's done multiple generations in my family, and he's the best at that I have ever seen in my life. I know you must hear that every single day.
I do, and I don't know how many times we'll go somewhere and somebody will just know, Mr. Danny. They're just remembering calling him Mr. Danny from the swim instructor, and they're just saying, you taught me, or you taught my kids, So one little tidbit I'll tell you, after Hurricane Katrina, though, we had these two young boys. We were at a restaurant and came up to us, and they thanked Danny so much for him teaching them how to swim, because they were the only people in their family that knew how to swim, and they were able to save their lives and their family members' lives in Hurricane Katrina.
Whoa, that's powerful. That is powerful.
It is.
I've seen Danny work magic in my family. I mean, one grandchild is literally scared to death of being let go. Danny was able to get him where he needed to be. Hey, so the city has finished up debris pickup, and there's been so much other exciting stuff happening. But what we'll do, Cecilia, we'll have you and/or Vincent back more periodically to talk about what's happening in the city. I appreciate you spending some time with me. Thanks for having me on here. I enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure. Cecilia Dobbs Walton, she's the public affairs specialist at the City of Biloxi, works there with Vincent Creel, works closely with the mayor. It's always good to check in with him. We'll see you later, and have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.
Halloween on the Green at Big